Wait. I gotta find one more. Not ready yet. I ain't ready yet, guys. What do you mean I'm ready? Oh, no, I'm not ready. Oh, no, I'm not ready. Hold on. Wait a minute. Where is my thing? Oh, that's the wrong one. All right. Zero ends. All right. Welcome to another interesting, I would say some events have popped up and look like this happened a day ago or two. But before I go into this article that just was placed here, and we probably might go through it. And, you know, I will probably put the call link. I doubt people gonna come up and we're gonna have this conversation, but nonetheless, it doesn't hurt to try. So now, as y'all will know, the call link will be sent on. And make sure y'all guys like and share this stream. Open. And here's the funny thing about this. We're going to 2023, allegedly. Oh, and also please like the stream. And share. Let me see what's going on here. I'm just checking some things out. I'm looking at this. And I'm gonna put that. Oh damn! Some woman got beat up badly here. All right. Anything else on here? I was doing some quick sweeping, people. Don't mind me. All right. And let me look on both ends of the monitor. Make sure everything's all good. And it look like we might be able to look back at my thing. All right. There we go. Okay. Like always, welcome to the Zero Ends channel. Like always, like the stream, etc. So now, as you see the title, the thumbnail, Trump organization found guilty in tax fraud scheme. Now, this is going to hurt a lot of what I call nationalists, certain men or women that's, I think, on the far left or far right, whatever wing it is, and it is a wing that completes and makes a bird that flaps its wings. They feel that either side might be the best interest for people or the American people, maybe or maybe not. Who knows? Nonetheless, that they are two of the same, or they're both of the same size of the one coin. And personally, if you're a person that's not like to eat and consume birds, this stream might not be for you because it's going to say things that might offend you, possibly, because there's a lot of people that are conservatives, wherever the hell that means, all this nonsense. But nonetheless, and the funny thing about Mr. Donald Trump, he is running for president 2024. Ironically. And will he possibly get a chance to win and do the remaining 4 years as actual president that was scupped to him? I have no idea. But we shall see. We shall see. But other than that, I'm sitting back and just watching the fireworks personally. I'm just giving people 1 more minute, 2 minutes, get myself a little settled, and then we're going to start. And looks like we got everything. And let me make sure everything is sent out on my end. All right. Yeah, I guess that's good enough. Let's get started because I ain't going to hold up much time on this. Make sure as y'all watch, like the stream, please. Like the stream, share the stream. And please subscribe to the Zero Ends channel. As you know, like any other channel, there's not much content on here. Well, there is content, but always it would be great if y'all support by subscribing and liking this channel. There's no donations or cash apps at this time. So I'm saying if you really like the content, that would be the better thing for now. So please, as if you're new to the channel and you have not subscribed, don't be hesitant, hit the subscribe button, hit the top notification bell. Also, make sure you like mostly any video or every video. And if not, leave a comment if you watch a few minutes. There's always something that's you might like, express in the comment section. Let's begin. Let me pull up the article itself. Let me find it. And we're going to look. Where is Trump? Here we go. So let's begin. And make sure everything's functioning on my end. Look like internet's working. So let me stop some bandwidth. Shut that off. Okay, guys. As you know, Trump's organization was found guilty in the tax fraud schemes. All right. And the former president's company has been accused of providing off-the-books benefits to executives. The testimony of its former chief financial officer proves crucial to this case. This was posted the 6th of December. Another survey. And this is Donald Trump. Continues to serve state, federal probe teams of the content business, etc. Now, and let me refresh because I had a slow. There we go. All right. Trump's company is guilty of tax fraud, a blow to the firm and the man. Hold on, guys. Okay. Okay. Donald Trump's organization, the Trump Organization, and the family real estate business that made Donald J. Trump a billionaire and propelled him from reality television to the White House, was convicted on Tuesday on tax fraud and other crimes, forever tearing the former president and the company that bear his name. God damn it. God fucking damn it. Now, as y'all know, that was one of the biggest issues that a lot of people were saying about him, that you avoid paying taxes. Last time I checked. Now, mind you, there are ways, if you are American, a capitalist, etc., that if you do it right and play cards right and establish certain endeavors, you potentially could pay less tax or even go as far as pay no taxes at all. And mind, there are videos and there are things circling throughout the internet. There are ways that you could do so. Now, do I highly advocate people do that? I cannot say that because I don't know your financial situation as a person. But if you feel you're trying to get out of this rat race and get under of this so-called trap of this financial stubble you have, or you put yourself under for a reason, then you're going to have to use the internet to the best of your ability. Even go as far as read certain books. I will reference certain books, but Google's your friend. Google it. Let's continue. The conviction of all 17 counts after more than a day of jury deliberations in state Supreme Courts in Manhattan stem from the company's practice of doing out-of-the-books perks to executives. They receive luxury apartments, leasing Mercedes-Benz, extra cash at Christmas, even free cable television. They pay taxes on none of it. They don't pay no damn taxes at all. They up in there just sitting there saying, run the credit card like, you get me? Pay no damn taxes. And I hope you watch it. Please like the stream. I see people watching now. Hit the like button. Like button's free. Please. Thank you. Let's go down. The Manhattan District Attorney Office, which prosecute the case, had previously obtained a guilty plea from the scheme architect Alan H. Westberg or Welsenberg. The company longtime chief financial officer, Mr. Welsenberg, one of Mr. Trump's most loyal lieutenants, testified as the prosecutor star witness, but never imply the former president or implicate the former president. Hold on, guys. What's going on here? Let me do this. All right. Prosecutors did not charge Mr. Trump, but they invoked him throughout the monologue trials, telling juries that he had personally paid for some of the perks and had even approved a crucial aspect of the scheme. The prosecution sound a drumbeat of damn evidence about a freewheeling culture at his company, revealing that previous or pervasive illegality flourishing there for years. Or progressing. Well, let me drink this. We got to see the inner workings of Trump organization, the greed, the lies, the cheating. Now, as you know, he probably did cheat maybe on his wife. Any of his wives, you know. And it comes with the territory because, as you know, Mr. Trump is, quote unquote, labeled a very high value man. And like many high value men, he is going to exercise the option to possibly, you know, cheat. And cheat he will do. But anyway, the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin L. Braggs said in an interview on Tuesday evening, reflecting on a victory that marked the height of his young tenure. The verdict carries limited financial repercussions and will not directly threaten the imperial Mr. Trump's company, but the convictions and the prosecution's explosive claim in closing arguments that Mr. Trump had been explicitly sanction tax fraud could reverberate through his nascent 2024 presidential campaign, providing fodder for political opponents. Let me read that again. Mr. Trump has been explicitly sanctioned tax fraud could reverberate through his nascent 2024 presidential campaign, providing fodder for political opponent. Now, I think the thing that comes to my mind that this might play a role of him possibly, if he's trying to run again, which possibly most Americans, that because whether you like it or not, they do love Trump. They don't hate him much. That's my check. That they're gonna overlook this, but they're gonna people that's gonna be his opponent are gonna keep rubbing this and throwing this in his face. Let me take a look on the screen before I continue. And I see a few people watching, and I don't see 2 likes. Like I said, please like the stream. Get this in the algorithm. We're going to have this discussion, whether I like it or not. And I'm not sure now I'm seeing what's going on here, because it seems to me that they're messing with the stream a little bit. I could be wrong. Let me double check. Yes, they are, because they're not giving me a certain amount of likes. This is new. Let me make sure, guys, everything's working before I continue, because that's unacceptable. Yeah, this is unacceptable. All right, we're going to continue anyway, because I think what's going on, because I'm talking about some political that might have a problem. Anyway, nonetheless, the message is going to move forward anyway, regardless of what's going on. Okay. What else? What's going on here? It is also expected to embolden Mr. Braggs as to intensify his broad criminal investigation into Mr. Trump, which focused both on his business practice and his hush money paid to porn stars who has said she had an affair with him, according to people with knowledge of the matter. Mr. Braggs came under fire early this year after he declined to seek an indictment of Mr. Trump. Yeah, and I remember that one, I think it's Stormy something, old porn star bitch. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She'll suck him off for the right price. All right, let's keep going. Let's go. Let's keep going. It is unclear whether Mr. Trump will now face charges, but of all his legal entanglements, including 2 federal criminal investigations, involve his final days as president, none has been a personal embarrassing, as the district attorney inquired. In a relative mute statement, Mr. Trump said he was disappointed with the verdict, but plans to appeal his blame. He blames Mr. Westenberg, saying the case was about his committing tax fraud on his personal tax return. And mind you, when you have so many business like Mr. Donald J. Trump have, or wherever his middle name is, it's easy to not pay too much taxes. You get me? If you disguise yourself and you have the right LLCs, MLCs, or whatever you call it, all those special legality business, you'll avoid a lot of things. A lot of things. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes, you will. Let's keep going. The Trump Organization lamented in its own statement that it was being made accountable for Mr. Westenberg's crimes. The notion that a company could be held responsible for an employee action to benefit themselves on their own personal tax return is simply preposterous. And the statement said, Susan, what they call Necklace or Necklace, a lawyer for the company, called the case unprecedented or unprecedented and legally incorrect. Is this Mr. Alan H. Wassenberg? That's him right there. See that? Good. Good. The felon's tax fraud scheming to defraud, conspiracy, and falsify business records are hardly a death sentence for the Trump organization. A company cannot be imprisoned, and the Trump organization is not publicly traded, meaning there are no financial regulators to punish it or public shareholders to flee from its. And the maximum penalty it faces is $1.62 million in penalties for Mr. Trump, who typically notched hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue during his presidency. And he got a lot of money. Trust me, he got a whole lot of money. Still, the case will inflict what they call reputational damages on the Trump's organization. And the former president, whose identities are inextricably intertwined, while the company is well known for cutting corners, and reporters have extensively documented Mr. Trump's ethical lapse over the years. The verdict branded it as a felonious enterprise, its greatest legal reckoning. The conviction is the nadir of an already disastrous year for the Trump organization. Its longtime accounting firms fire it. New York Attorney General filed a fraud lawsuit against it, and Mr. Bragg's investigation grinds on. And this is what he says in quotes. We're going to do the quotes. We're going to speak in our European voice. We can have no tolerance for individuals or organizations that violate our laws to line their pockets. The Attorney General Letitia James said in a statement on Tuesday. So that was a female, so I apologize. Let me read that again in a female's voice. We can have no tolerance for individuals or organizations that violate our laws to line their pockets. That's his correction, people. Mr. Trump has blamed the prosecution on political and has accused Mr. Braggs and Mr. James, who are black, of being racist. Even before the verdict was read, Mr. Trump said on his social media platform, Truth Social, that Mr. Braggs was fighting a political witch hunt for DC. Wait, let me read that again. What are you talking about black? Is he saying black? Mr. Trump has blamed the prosecution on political and has accused Mr. Braggs and Mr. James, who are black, of being racist even before the verdict was read. Said the man with, so it look like it's a black man that put something into or did something to this verdict or play a part of this. Interesting. Very interesting. That's what I'm reading, guys. And you said Donald Trump is not racist. The audacity of it all, man. You must be crazy. Yeah. 1 second, guys. Hold on. Sorry about that, guys. I had to handle that. Let's continue. Mr. Trump's attacks on prosecutors are a rally cry for his voters, particularly in the embrace extremist element of American society. During a third run for president, but they may alienate lenders and business partners. So I think he's talking about this man right here, this gentleman right here. Interesting. Very interesting. And like always, please, guys, like the stream. This is a politics right now. This is news. But anyway, let's keep going. The case emerged from a wandering investigation into the former president by the district attorney office, which has long been focused on the hush money and whether Mr. Trump fraudulently inflate the value of his properties to obtain favorable terms from lenders. Seeking a company insider to testify, prosecutors turns to Mr. Weissenberg, who cuts his teeth with Mr. Trump's father, Fred Trump, a half-century ago when Mr. Weissenberg resisted the pressures campaigns. He was indicted in the tax fraud case in 2021, along with two Trump organizations entitled the Trump Corporation and Trump Payroll Corporations. The case against Mr. Weissenberg was barreled towards trial until he struck a plea deal with prosecutors in August. Mr. Weissenberg, who is on paid leave from the Trump Organization, declined to cooperate with the broader investigation into Mr. Trump, but agreed to testify against the company. At trial, the defense lawyer questioned Mr. Weissenberg's motives for testifying. Nothing that has agreement with prosecutors called for him to spend as few as 100 days in jail. Over 2 emotional days on the witness stand, Mr. Weissenberg admits that he had reaped about $1.8 million in indirect and hidden compensations, allowing him to evade hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. Ooh. So he's talking about this man was getting money like that under the rug. It's like, let me just give me the money right there. Yeah, that'd be good. And mind you, because he has so many LLCs, business proposition, it's easy that you're going to not be paying much more or a little tax. If I can recall, and maybe I might have to move some of these shows over there, that there was one particular person that's a CPA that worked with Robert Kiyosaki talk about this, about tax-free wealth. I think everybody should look to get that book if they can get their hand of it. Let's keep going. The benefits include a rent-free apartment in Trump's building overlooking the Hudson River, leasing cars for him and his wife, and private school tuition for their grandchildren. Mr. Trump's personally paid the tuition of Mr. Weissenberg to testify, linking the former president to the board scheme to support the contentions that Mr. Trump was explicitly sanctioning tax fraud. Prosecutors produced a document he signed that they said showed him authorizing one of the scheme's crucially elements, a reduction in salary for another executive who was receiving what they call clandestine benefits. Although no evidence emerged that Mr. Trump knew his executives had failed to pay taxes on the payout, prosecutors noted that he was a hand-on boss, particularly when it comes to money. So he knows everything because he makes sure everything that's moved, he is aware of it. Now, this is something that's one-on-one lesson for most of you future business owners or any person that's going to be business, you particularly men, and you too, black men. That always you got to know where your money is going to. If you need to invest money on another personal or private accountant, do so. And you need to. I would highly advise you make that a conscious effort to do. But other than that, if you're not doing none of those things and you just leave them to one particular accountant or whatever, or you're handling affairs, knowing where your money's going, I would advise to really reconsider that. Anyway, let's keep going. The case is about greed and cheating. Susan Hofgren, the lead prosecutor, told the jury in open argument by the trial, and the prosecution had argued that misconduct was previous throughout the Trump organization, which cultivate a culture of fraud and deception. If the company had any hopes of acquittal, it resisted on the cross-examination of Mr. Weissenberg, or acquittal, who admits to betraying his employer and carry out the scheme without Mr. Trump's approval. Asking by a defense lawyer, Alan, Fruit-Ross, whether Mr. Weissenberg was embarrassed about his behavior, the executive near tear replied softly, "More than you can imagine." Now, before I continue, let's say, let's say this. Imagine this: if Donald Trump was another racial ethnic group of a man, or not a European or Caucasian man, and he was black. Would we be knowing more about this, and they would put the blame on the person that works for Trump, or they'll blame the person that the man himself? I wonder, because it seems to me so far from what I'm getting out of this article, and this is just me, everybody gets different mixed feelings on this article, that it seemed to me that they put more blame on the person that worked for Trump than Trump himself. That's what I'm getting out of this. I don't know about y'all, but that's what I'm getting out of it. And personally, that's what I'm reading, and that's what it seemed like. That's what this article is implying. Now, hold on. Now, me thinking like this, I would say that you can't put the blame on this Mr. Weissenberg. You got to put blame on the man that runs these organizations, like Trump himself, personally. But like I said, he is part of a certain office, All right. All right, so let's continue. In closing arguments, Mrs. Nicholas told the jury that Mr. Weissenberg had repeatedly testified to acting for his own benefits, not to help the company or the Trump family, and the judge oversees the case. Juan Merkin explains to jurors that for the company to be guilty, Mr. Weissenberg could not have undertaken the scheme merely for his own personal gain. Ms. Nicholas argued that the prosecution had failed to meet that burden. She noted that when Mr. Weissenberg was asked on the stand about the motivation for deducting the value of his perks from the overall compensation, he said, "My intentions was to save pre-tax dollars, not to help the company." Interesting. All right, let's keep going. Let me read that sentence again because I lost something. Mr. Welsenberg was asked on the stand about motivation for deducting the value of his perks from his overall compensation. He said, "My intentions was to save pre-tax dollars, not to help the company." Let me stop this because I don't know why I'm getting these stupid ass. All right. The admissions reinforced what became a mantra for the defense. Welsenberg did it for Welsenberg, so they say. In his closing statement, a prosecutor, Joshua Stenglis, took aim at that refrain, argued that both halves of the sentence are wrong. He added, it was not just Welsenberg doing it, and it was not just Welsenberg benefiting from it. Yes, and he's right. He wasn't. All right. All right. An alternate jury interview on Monday evening after being dismissed from the case said that she agreed with the prosecutor that the scheme could not be distilled into a single phrase. The woman who asked not to be identified because of concerning about online abuse argued that there was little but daylight between the company and its top executives. It benefits them, but did not benefit the company. She said, what would? Hold on. Let's say something in the private chat. Hold on. Let me I think I have somebody backstage. 1 second. Let me switch. Let me do this again. The company was able to save a small amount of taxes, but report the perks to tax authorities to prosecute notes, and it pays those benefits instead of awarding bigger salaries directly, saving some money on compensation. And I'm looking, and I'll be looking at it periodically. All right. It was a win-win, a way to get more money into executive pockets while keeping their own costs as low as possible, Mr. Stenglis said. He argues that there was also a tremendous amount of evidence that Mr. Welsenberg had indeed intended to benefit the company, even if it was to a far lesser extent than himself. And this is Mr. Alan Fruitrus. The jury spent about 10 hours deliberating, returning to the courtrooms several times to request information. When their deliberation conclude, they seemed eager to deliver their verdict. They buzzed the courtroom 4 times to notify the judge that it was time to be heard. The full fallout. The full fallout from the conviction is unclear. The Trump Corporation and Trump Payroll Corp are not central to Mr. Trump's money-making enterprise. The essential performers, back office functions, employ and paying top executives. And although the reputational tolls of felons could make it harder to expand the company, the Trump organization was already running in place rather than tackling new projects. Recent years, the company was largely tended to its existing properties, including office and apartments buildings in New York, some hotels, and 16 golf courses in its own or managed. That pullback was underway before the district attorney office opened its investigation into Mr. Trump in 2018. Under Mr. Bragg's predecessors, Cyrus R. Vance Jr., the inquiry initially focused on the $130,000 payments to the porn star Stormy Daniels before voting to the broader examination of whether Mr. Trump inflated the value of his properties. And I remember that was the most he gave out of that chick. I think she deserves less, but it's not a story. Predecessor Cyrus R. Vance Jr. Yeah. Late last year, Mr. Vance instructed the prosecutors to begin presenting evidence about Mr. Trump to a grand jury. But soon after Mr. Bragg took office in January, he and his top abide developed concerns about providing that Mr. Trump had intended to break the law, a necessary element to providing the crime. Mr. Bragg's blank at seeking an indictment, a decision that prompted the resignation of the two senior prosecutors, leading to investigation and stirring a public uproar. Things may be different now. Mr. Bragg is expected to continue pursuing his investigation into Mr. Trump, and he has refocused on the hush money in recent months. The New York Times report in November, his prosecutors are also seeking to apply renewal pressures on Mr. Wellsberg to turn on Mr. Trump. To me, this guilty verdict against the Trump organization is not the end of, but just the beginning of juries holding the former president, his corporations, and his inner circle accountable. Mr. Vance said, "This was a good day for a Manhattan District Attorney office." And the public goes to see face Manhattan District Attorney said, "This is the attorneys. So they are not control how the public perceive his work." So these are the people, including the black man, as you can tell. In a Tuesday evening interview, the Manhattan District Attorney's Alvin L. Bragg reflect on the most significant legal victories of his 12 months in office: the conviction of Donald J. Trump's family business in a tax fraud scheme, and he spoke equivalently about his continued investigation into the former president himself. "We got to see the inner workings of Trump organization, the greed, the lies, the cheating," Mr. Bragg said before praising the lead prosecutor from his office. This was brought out by the Superior Suburb team, Susan Hoffman and Josh Stengles. This is very much a long article that y'all know. This is not for the week when you read these articles. Let y'all know that right now. And I really don't know if most other content creators really covering this. Maybe one or two, maybe. They might did a very small video of this, and they didn't even read the damn article. I'm reading it to you. Again, and give it to my perspective. Not saying most people won't waste the time read this, but let's be honest. This is some news that should be covered. He is running for the 2024 president, and they've been watching him closely, and they've been watching him very deeply for the last few years. Even during the time when he was going for president, they've been keeping a real more watchful eye on Donald J. Trump. Now, is it malicious that they doing this to him? Maybe, but there's always a more deeper agenda why they invested time into his business endeavors, which, you know, most Europeans always in business is always questionable. It's mostly criminal, unfortunately. That's just honest truth. But anyway, Mr. Braggs said he had been largely unfazed by defense lawyers arguing that the company chief financial officers who plead guilty in the scheme had been motivated by personal greed alone. He called his saving argument, but said that juries had not been convicted. They found the company guilty of all 17 counts. The public got to see the fact, and the fact drives the outcome, Mr. Bragg said. He also spoke briefly about what had changed since February, when two senior prosecutors resigned after he decided not to proceed with charges against Mr. Trump himself. In recent months, Mr. Bragg's prosecutors have renewed their focus on a hush money payment to a porn star, which they're reiterating again. He said she had an affair with Mr. Trump, and on Monday, the office announced that was hiring a former senior Justice Department office with a history of taking on Mr. Trump and Capote's knowledge of his company business practice. In an interview Tuesday, Mr. Braggs referred to the trial as just a chapter and said that he had been cautioning people not to read ahead in the books. You don't litigate your case in public, he said, complimenting his lawyers' rigor and professionalism, or any professional of that nature. Who knows? You got to see that on display because of the trial, he said. We got at the exact same time other people working hard and professionally and vigorously on other pieces. And we can't talk about that. We were constrained. Mr. Braggs said that he could not control the public perception of his tenure. When I can do is make sure that we put the right people in the right places and give them the resource to do the rigorous job. To elect the fact, develop, and narrative applied to law justice, he said. I have every faith that other members of the team who are working on part of the endeavor using the same approach will lead to a result that's just it. And there's more, but I have somebody backstage. Let me bring up the first person. I'm gonna give a pause. Make sure you guys like the stream, please. Welcome to the Zero Inch channel, Mr. Alonzo Hall. What's good?
How's it going? I'm actually very excited that you're sharing this article. This is something that a lot of content creators aren't talking about, and this is actually a very important thing. A lot of people right now are going to be talking about the whole Brittney Griner, coming back from Russia thing. But
really, they're able to get her back from that country?
Yeah, they're trading the guy for her.
Ain't that something? Ain't that questionable?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Now the difference. I'll talk to that actually real quick. The difference in that and the military vet. A lot of people are like, well, we don't have this military vet who's retired, who's being returned, but we have this civilian basketball player. The difference is, unfortunately, the military vet signed up for this. When you take that oath to be a military vet, you give yourself to the country. The country generally doesn't or won't go back in on your behalf. However, Brittney Griner was a civilian, and so the military vet is basically not going to get returned because he gave up his freedom so that we could get the freedom to do things like get Brittney Griner back. Now, with that being said, am I happy about it? Do I agree with it? Particularly, no. But that's why we appreciate our military service men and women, because that's what they give up their freedoms, and that's what they put their lives on the line for, is so that we can have those freedoms to be able to give up an occultist, murderistic terrorist for a civilian. But with this, the whole tax thing, we got to realize that, man, there's so many. One of the things that they won't tell you, ironically enough, that Trump is using as a tax shelter is his life insurance. It's something called a MEC, a modified endowment contract, where these rich people stuff boatloads of money into these policies, and the money grows tax free, and then they take the money out tax free. And then they tell you to buy term and invest difference. And we got Negroes in the hood being little niggas, not getting educated on this. But, you know, I always talk about El Chapo selling cocaine and putting $80 million of dirty drug money in insurance policies. So everything is connected, ironically enough.
Yeah, man. They don't really talk about the other things that really some serious wealth. Besides, you know, they starting their own LLCs and business, but also that they got a lot of insurance that really protects them even greater. And
can you Google that? Can you Google MEC, modified endowment contract, so the people can see that along with this? Yeah.
Now, if you want, you can put it in back chat. But let me Google it. Let me see.
Yeah, I'll put it in the back chat. So it's MEC.
Yeah. Put in back chat. So it cuts the time me Google this.
And I'll show you.
All right.
And I'll show you what it is. So you get it exact. And so this way the people can see, you know, the
Oh, that's insurance. I see. MEC insurance. Okay.
And let people understand that this is how the wealthy are doing things with life insurance to avoid taxes.
All right. Now you want to use Investopedia, MEC, or
Investopedia? That's fine.
All right. Let me click onto that. Come on. All right. Let me share this. I'm gonna stop sharing this, and y'all guys could probably read this article yourself. I might put it in the chat room possibly. Let me.
I think that's good, but then I'm sorry for hijacking it. I do this on every stream I go to, and I link it when we're talking about, you know, making power moves and all that. But it's kind of like Dr. Claude Anderson, and, you know, talking about having finances or resources is the way that, you know, people like the Asians got the Asian hate crime bill. You know, it wasn't for getting votes.
See it?
Yeah. So modifying endowment contract and the definition and tax implications, because they set up their life insurance policies, right? It's a tax qualification of a life insurance policy whose funding exceeds federal tax law limits. So, for example, you know how people max out an IRA at $6,000 a year, or they max out their 401k at $20,500.
Yeah.
Well, what these guys would do is max those out, but those were tax deferred. But then they would take life insurance and put $22,000, $23,000, $25,000, $100,000 a year into their life insurance, and it grows tax free and tax deferred, because so they're not paying taxes on it. And then as the money accumulates, they would take it out tax free and be able to use $200,000 tax free. And all they put in was $100,000. I mean, obviously, arbitrary numbers. There's, you know, things, but just to give you, you know, the face value of
it. Oh yeah. I remember I had one book. Was a PDF or actual book about, and one thing they emphasize the importance of the life insurance aspect because it is tax free. It is very much tax free. So obviously, these are things that Mr. J. Trump knew. Besides, he went to school for this, but he takes advantage of a lot of things with the LLCs and all that stuff, and was able to play under a rug for such a long time until eventually when he started to make more bigger moves. That's when he started putting himself on the radar. You get me?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if they're the same rules of the 48 laws of power, but you know, it's something that derives on the actions. You know. Oh, let me get rid of this. What the hell is this? Yeah.
So they want you to subscribe to Investopedia.
But keep talking.
But yeah, actually, so I just wanted to add this to make it germane to the topic that you were talking about the, you know, the tax evasion and the tax fraud, because a lot of wealthy people use life insurance. And when you talk to especially the Black community, Life insurance is a taboo subject, and nobody wants to talk about it. And they get one policy, and that's all, and that's it. And it's a $50,000 policy, and my kids are good. They're gonna be good when I die. Meanwhile, if you want $50,000 right now in the scratch off, all you would do is pay a couple bills and maybe fix your car.
Mm-hmm. But think about this, Alonso. How much it costs to bury somebody? Do you know?
So there are a few different statistics. To be honest, the average funeral is about $21,000. In the hood, statistically, the average funeral has been about $8,500.
So let's say this: if it's 21, so-called overall, and but like I said, the hood's like roughly almost pushing like 100 grand, right? 80 grand, right?
No, 8,500. So almost 10 grand.
Okay. So out of that 50 that they put in this pot in life insurance, that's not really much, especially if it's only 50 and you gotta deal with all the other expenditures that they're not really, your family loved ones might not get much. Not saying they won't get anything, but if that's how much most people could invest, but other people that got their business, got themselves up and running already to control more, they'll get more out of than most of us, depending on how we position ourselves and how we invest very early. And as we get into life insurance, it's really later into our lives, personally.
And that's when it becomes cost prohibitive. See, all these features and benefits are also valued with time. So in our community, it's important to get to the people who are in their 20s, their teens and 20s, when this stuff is cheap and when you have a lot of time because of compound interest. But people don't understand how this stuff works. Life insurance follows the bond market. That's how it grows cash value. Life insurance is literally a hedge fund. Yeah. It was the original hedge fund. It just doesn't sound as sexy.
Yeah. It's not
really right? But when you learn the way it grows, if you look at compound interest, right? Everybody's heard of compound interest and gets excited about that and doesn't know that their life insurance grows at compound interest. People who are licensed and who sell life insurance and who have been selling life insurance for 30 years don't even know that the life insurance they sell pays dividends. How many people knew life insurance paid dividends? Not many, because when the insurance agent is trying to sell you the policy, the way they're trained to set it up is that it buys you something called PUA. And when I say PUA, I don't mean pickup artist. What it does is it buys you paid up additions. So the insurance company pays itself back by buying more death benefit on you with the dividends that it's supposed to share with you. And they don't even tell you about it. Right? So even licensed people who have their license like me to sell this stuff and been selling it for 30 years don't know this. Right? But the wealthy, I have a lot of wealthy clients, right? So or not exactly wealthy client, but I deal with a certain type of client, I should say. And so the type of client that I've dealt with has developed certain structures and strategies that I understand that the wealthy use is what I should say. I shouldn't say I have a lot of wealthy clients, but I have clients who are using strategies of the wealthy, right? And because of that, I've had to learn how to, manipulate stuff like tax law, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
I'll give you an example. I have a client who had to pay over $100,000 to the government in back taxes. Right? And he had to pay this. He called me, and then 2 weeks later, he had to write a check to the government for $100,000. And he's still putting life insurance on himself. And he's paying more than $10,000 a year into the policy. He's paying almost $20,000 a year into the policy. This person also does not have a wife or children. So then you would say, well, why do you need life insurance? Well, he's not doing it for the death benefit. It's a wealth preservation strategy. So is also going to help him avoid paying taxes. Because now that $20,000 is not taxed. Right? So these are things that people like Donald Trump are using when you say stuff like tax the rich. They do tax the rich, not you specifically, but when people say stuff like tax the rich, this is kind of what they're talking about. But the rich have a lot of tax loopholes.
And they should, because they're the ones that so-called bring something to the government in regards to building and create some form of
This
job.
is going to sound very Reaganomish, but yes, it's literally the trickle-down effect, right?
Yes.
Because, everybody complains about these big businesses. Boy, oh, Black Lives Matter, boycott Apple. Really? So I hope you have a black Apple to employ all the black people who work at Apple, down to the janitor, the guy who sweeps the floor, right? Who buffs the floors. He's employed to go buff the floors. The guy who works security in the parking lot is employed to work security in the parking lot, not just the big tech giant Steve Jobs. But we think so small and short-sighted on things, right? Because if you look at the bigger picture, I ain't got no business to employ Steve, the parking lot attendant, right? So then in Black Lives Matter, guess what I just did? Shutting down Apple hurt more black people than it helped, right? The Jewish community can do that because they have a business that will employ Steve as a security guard watching the parking lot. Now, I'm not going to Kyrie Irving your show, so.
No, I mean, it's good you come up because, like I said, this is something that should be looked at, examined, but we all know that when we talk about the politics of things, and there are a lot of men that are conservative, as you know, and they really gear into the left, wherever they call left or right, wherever position is. And like I said, I'm a person, I cover this. I'm more neutral in all this. I don't pick favors. But it's interesting noticing this man is running for re-election, and they already got things that's right now indisposable to really use it against him. Now, will he win if he tries to run again? I don't know. It's highly either likely or doubtful. Depends.
You're saying Trump?
And we all know that Biden is going to run for re-election again.
Oh yeah, no, he's going to run. Yeah.
But obviously, if he's granted to do 2 terms, I don't see him doing the second term fully. He's gonna probably pass it on to a woman.
He's a lame duck. He's a 1-term.
Yeah, I know he is 1 term. That's why now people understand why he's running again. He's running again because they want to put a woman in office. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's no really suitors right now, unless Michelle Obama runs for office. But other than that, there's no female, because they're trying to they're trying to change the shift of America to now.
Now here's what's funny: if Michelle Obama runs, she'll win, and here's why she'll win.
Yeah, she'll probably. It's highly she'll possibly win. She'll probably win. Yeah.
Well, it's a popularity contest, right? And it has nothing to do with any points that she brings up. But people like myself would literally, I'd vote for Michelle Obama out of spite. 1, to say shit like fuck a lot of niggas in the manosphere, and 2, and 2, to say shit like, yo, it's a black woman in power. I'm blackity black. Fuck it, let's go. But realistically, that's what I would she would gain a lot of votes simply because a lot of people would vote for that. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with the manosphere, so that's why I said that. But, a lot of those guys are also quasi-conservative. But a lot of blacks are quasi-political anyhow, right? So, it's almost a moot point.
Alonzo, talk for a few minutes. I had to handle something.
No problem. So, yeah, I want to wrap this back to I guess the taxes and the whole Donald Trump thing. So again, what we were looking at, and those watching can go to Google themselves and Google a modified endowment contract. And what a modified endowment contract is it's a life insurance policy that's funded in a way that changes its tax treatment by the IRS. Okay, there are actually IRS codes. So things like your 401k are not a product, right, or a retirement package. They're actually just IRS tax codes, right? So 403B, 457, all that shit is just tax code, right? Now, yes, financial professionals like myself who are licensed in this stuff and have been licensed for over a decade have understanding, and that's why we sell these products, because we understand how they work. One second. So when you look at the different tax implications of a lot of these products, there are ways in with which uh, a lot of these products can be manipulated. If you guys Google a CPA, certified public accountant, by the name of Ed Slott, that's Slott, he explains life insurance is one of the most uh, tax lucrative products in the world in terms of financial products. But the reason that they don't offer it or publicize it to many in that facet is because then there would be kind of no tax revenue. Um, so that's kind of the purpose of that. So people like Donald Trump have been able to manipulate a lot of this. Now, unfortunately, he may have gone, way too far in doing other things. And a lot of things, I also have my PTIN, which is why I know a lot about taxes. Because last time I came up here, I had to have a conversation with someone about credentials. But then again, another main issue with a lot of Black folks is you ask about credentials, but you don't even know half the time what the credentials are if I told you them. Like, I'll tell people, well, I have my PTIN, and then continue to speak, and they'll be like, well, what credentials do you have? And I'll be like, well, I just said I have my PTIN, but you don't even know what a PTIN is. A PTIN is prepares tax identification number, meaning that you're licensed by the federal government to prepare taxes in all 50 states. So when I talk on these things, I talk from a level of understanding because I've taken my 10,000 hours of knowledge versus your simple Google search, right? So when you're looking at a lot of these different tax implications, things that you might get incorrectly told about often are like, I know a lot of people be like, oh, well, my accountant said I could write off my suit for work because, I work and I wear a suit for work. Well, no, you can't write off your suit for work. You can write off a portion of your suit for work, or maybe a portion of the cleaning of your suit for work, but you cannot write off your suit for work. Now, what your accountant doesn't tell you is the reason that you can write off certain clothing articles. For example, if you had to pay for your uniform that says Bob's Cleaning Service and you purchase that, you can write that entire uniform off. Why? Because the purpose of that is to advertise that you are Bob's Cleaning Service. However, your suit can be worn outside of your sales job. You can wear that suit to the nightclub. You can wear that suit to church. You can wear that suit to a funeral. You can wear that suit again to the nightclub, to a fancy dinner, uh, to a play, right? To Thanksgiving dinner, right? Or you can wear that suit for work. But nobody will know that you're with Bob's Cleaning. They'll just know you're wearing a fancy suit. Now, again, you go to church, they gonna know you with Bob's Cleaning. You go to the grocery store, they're gonna know you with Bob's Cleaning. You go to Bob's Cleaning Emporium, they're gonna know you work for Bob's Cleaning. It's a uniform. So small things like that are reasons why people like Donald Trump actually get into trouble. Because accountants, CPAs generally, are a fee for service type entity. So an accountant will charge you to file your taxes. They will charge you separately to keep your books. They will charge you separately for tax strategies. They will charge you separately for implementing said tax strategy. I'll give you an example. I had a client who sold his house. He wanted to avoid doing a 1031 exchange. What is a 1031 exchange? In real estate, when you sell your house, if you want to avoid paying capital gains taxes when you sell a property, if you want to avoid some capital gains taxes when you sell that investment property, you need to either roll over some of those funds into the purchase of another property of equal or greater value. However, that means getting another mortgage, because usually if you bought a house for $250,000 and you sell it for, let's say, $350,000, you don't get the whole $350,000. You got to pay off whatever's left on your mortgage. So let's say there's $150,000 left on your mortgage. So you got to pay $150,000 on that. Then you got to pay your real estate agent. So let's say you pay your real estate agent $50,000. So that leaves you with $100,000. So to avoid taxes, you can buy a property of equal value to this house you just sold or greater. But now you have to pay for a mortgage at today's rate. So my client called me and said, I don't want to do a 1031. I want to not pay taxes at all. I said, well, there is something called the 1035 exchange. So what we did was we rolled over the funds from that sale of that house into an insurance product. And in that insurance product, he paid $0 in taxes. Well, before he did that, he said, well, I want to ask my accountant about this. So he asked his accountant, hey, my financial advisor told me that I could just sell the house and roll the money over into an insurance product and not pay any taxes. And his accountant said, yeah, that's a great idea. And he said to his accountant, well, why didn't you tell me about this? And he said, well, you pay me to file your taxes, not for tax strategy. So, needless to say, that's the business of a certified public accountant. Now, if you need tax help, you can also get an enrolled agent, but you got to be careful with them too. Okay, it's a little better. Yeah. So, like I said, that's my take on it. And man, I wish Zero was back, because I want to pull up that article from Trump, but I could keep going. I guess I'm going to have to start doing my my own show as well.
All right, Alonzo, thank you.
Yeah.
Dang, I gotta catch the replay of what you said, man, because I had to handle something. We probably will cut it short here. I think I let enough. I'm not sure I'm gonna do a part 2 because there's more to this article, bro. It's ridiculous, man.
Can you put the article in the back chat or something? Because I like this type of stuff. This is what I do for a living, right?
Yes, I could do that now. I could do that right now.
So not to cut you off, but so like when I look at stuff like this, to me it's exciting, especially coming from the background I come from, right?
Yep.
We have a lot of these circular conversations in spaces like the Manosphere, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of these conversations will even have like, the whole FBA ADOS, non-FBA ADOS discussion, right? And in that, right, we're feeling how we're feeling and what have you. But my thing is, at the end of the day, In America, we're black, right? So with the conditions that are in this country and a lot of this world, to be honest, but Americans are very much like North Koreans when it comes to our view of the world. I don't know if you understand. Well, you're not FBA, right? Or not
Well,
NATO?
I mean, I don't go into the politics of zero ends, but you know,
Okay, I'm sorry.
yeah. But I will say this because I'm here from here that I have more clear understanding and connection to black folks in America, mostly. And I say this with confidence and honesty that I feel and understand it. Unlike most people that either say the foundation American or not from here, you know Percy Alonso, they talk bad and shit about black people in America. Very bad.
Mm-hmm.
And wherever if it's deserved or not, still, you will not be so bold to do that in front of black people in front of their face in the public saying this type of shit. Personally. That's why I don't like a lot of people that they taught this shit because this is the internet. But if you're in real life, you will not be running your mouth the way you are. That's how I look at it. So as where you are in any environment, you will keep your mouth to a minimum. And
hey, hold on. Let me. I got a phone call. I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah. Go do your thing. All right. Like I said, guys. I might do part 2. I'm not sure. We'll see. I hope that you got something out of this. This is something that, like I said, needs to be examined, and I take the first initiative to do so. You know, and I'm hoping others will as well. But other than that, thank y'all for watching today's stream. If you find anything or learn anything, or you have your own opinions of what's current events with Donald J. Trump or anything else that's going on in politics, leave a comment below. I look forward to reading it. That is it. All right, then. Till next time, take care. And like always, catch me on the next one.